Welcome to my annual review of my whole coloring book collection and all my finished pictures. This time I decided to start from a romantic country. It's always difficult to select how to start because I have such a huge collection, and each year I film more and more such review videos because of the bigger amount of books. But I think that this year I did quite a lot nice pictures in a romantic country, so that's why I decided that that's where I select. This book wasn't easy for me from the beginning, so I waited for several years until I finally got used to this paper. I still regret that I can't use watercolor or something like this in my English editions. I don't like how water-based mediums, even neon colors, behave here. It's possible to use them, but then you spend the same amount of time with pencils trying to improve all those stains which you got from watercolor. So now my main medium here is simply Prismacolor pencils and of course Posca pen. So I started my journey in this book from this nice scene with a restaurant, seafood restaurant and cafe. You know that I'm a huge fan of coloring buildings, coloring cute villages or towns, so it was a quite logical choice. And I do love how I did it. I even added something from myself, some additional grape here, so there were only leaves. And I think that it looked nice. Anyway, it helped me to feel much more confident that I can color in this book. Here was the page where I did use neon colors for the walls, but the rest I did with Prismacolors. And this one probably is one of my best finished pictures here. I still like it. It was challenging to select pink as a main color, but I decided that for the fantasy village and for the patisserie, pink can be a very good color to attract customers and to show this festive atmosphere for all these sweets which we have, which we can see inside. So very nice. It was very pleasant to do. Next, we have part with castle and castle palace interiors. So I did this palace room when I tried to find colors for the walls. I remembered about unusual color combo in one of the rooms of the Versailles Palace in France near Paris, and there was this unusual green together with blue, so I got inspiration from a real room in the palace, but of course I slightly modified it for my own purposes. I added this violet with lavender to make additional color accents, and I think that it looks nice. Most of all, I think that all those golden or warm brown elements help to create nice contrast to all those greens. Next one is this huge spread. I hope that I will manage to show it on the screen. And it was a long work, but I dedicated to it only a small amount of time, almost each day during July and June. I did those paintings, portraits of cats and dogs, step by step, and it was really enjoyable to have small amount of time to have one finished piece. I tried to use the same color combo of chocolate, espresso, artichoke and jasmine for the frames, so they have different ornament, different style, but the same colors. And I hope that it helped me to unite all the paintings. And then on the last step I added this wallpaper behind to make it look like a real painting gallery somewhere in the palace. I can say that all the animals here are perfect. They are so tiny that of course it wasn't possible to do proper fur, but at least I tried to maintain basic colors which are traditional for the types of cats and dogs which are represented here. The next one was done with acrylic paint. Oh no, with watercolor, but I used only small amount of water, so it looks quite opaque here. This claret or Bordeaux color for the background, and then Prismacolors in the central part. I always loved this central part, very nice picture, and you know that I love pictures where I can show reflection of the lights, highlights in various surfaces, like here, highlight in the window, highlight in the mirror above the head of the child, and adorable teddy bear here, so absolutely lovely, and the sleeping cat, many nice details. But I wasn't sure what to do with the outer frame. Now I think that this Bordeaux together with pink, it really creates a very good, and I'm usually looking for this book at least frame, because I don't think that I can use watercolor for any other pages because of the paper problems, but here it was not so bad. Let me move forward, and here we have my walk of shame because I still hadn't finished it. I don't know what is my problem, because I started to use watercolor and again I was very disappointed. I hoped that it will help me to create some kind of the background, and then I will add texture, like maybe we have bushes behind the table and around, but I didn't like how it laid on the paper, so I was thinking maybe to add something between the leaves, so I'm still not sure how to finish it, but I hope that maybe one day I will do it. The second one on the left side is better. I was inspired by traditional Bavarian German costumes, and the only thing I don't like here is this thing. I didn't know how to color these pantaloons in order to match all other colors on the page, so maybe it's not exactly the best thing, and I also messed up with the background. I somehow decided to add this very light beige color with watercolor, but again it created ugly stains. I wanted to create a little bit of vintage look, but now it simply looks dirty, so again it's fault of the paper. Let's move. Here I have picture which I do love, apart from some problems on the chest of the horse. I did try to look at the reference pictures, but then somehow I messed up. But I do love her head, and everything else here is not bad. I worked for some time on this texture of the faded green door, faded green wood, painted wood here. I do enjoy to color all the metal details, and we have here a lot of them. I decided to add a little bit of bricks to the background because wall it was big and empty and boring. Everything else I think is quite easy. For the straw I added a little bit of acrylic paint to mask excessive amount of the black lines. And the next spread. Here we have Halloween page, and that's where I experimented a lot with Neocolor crayons first to do this purple magenta background. Then when I realized that it created not very attractive stains, I masked it with huge amount of pearlescent watercolors. I have here pearlescent pink, pearlescent blue, then orange, so in real life it's extremely sparkly and shining, and indeed it helped to save this background. I decided to add this strange looking moon behind the words because I didn't want to cover them to show that that's indeed Halloween page, and in such a way I decided to do a moon behind, but probably it's not the most attractive moon in the world. But everything else is good. Here I even used polychromos instead of Prismacolors. It was possible to use, but the same amount of efforts in order to cover paper. Still, I had to use blender because of the white spots visible on the paper, so no big difference, and I decided that with Prismacolors I can color quicker, so that's where I decided that they are still my main medium in this book. And here I have very nice book picture with bakery. I call it 50 Shades of Bread because I really tried to use various color combos of Prismacolor pencils to show how it's possible to do various colors for the bread, more baked, more have darker color made from various types of products. So I hope that it's visible that my bread, it has different colors. Some of them are covered by chocolate, and I think that it's not bad. I'm still not sure about color of this tablecloth, but I hope that they help to create at least something bright. Everything else is relatively light or in pastel colors, so maybe some touch of extremely bright, it was probably necessary. Anyway, I do love this page. The next one is this spread. Here we are, almost inside the screen. And again, I do love this one. Everything made with Prismacolors and Posca pen. I experimented here with colors on the sky, so sometimes I added pink and lavender, different shades of light blue colors from Prismacolor set. Here it was three which I didn't liked a lot, so in order to make it less flat and more three-dimensional, I added these flowers. I wanted to create atmosphere of the spring, and I added some flowers here, because to do such a huge empty areas of green on this paper, it wasn't my favorite idea. And I am happy that here we have only small visible part of the horse, so at least here I didn't mess up with the horse. Here we have adorable page, which I always loved, very funny. We have two poor bunnies and sign no bunnies in the vegetable garden. It was fun to use different shades of green for the grass, for the vegetables. I have here carrots, we have cabbages of different types, and I did it when I already started to think about the beginning of the fall season. That's why my trees, they already have some yellow and orange leaves. The next one is this cozy room. Again, I did background using Neocolor crayons, and then I tried to work on top of it with Prismacolors because I wasn't happy. Here I can say that I'm happy with my shadows. Everything looks a little bit too flat, but at least I do love this fireplace. Well, I think that, oh no, it's not all for this book, because I do have this quite nice storage closet. Anyway, this may be part of the kitchen. Here I added bricks on the background again, because I don't like big empty backgrounds to be covered just with one color, and maybe here we have some paint deleted and bricks visible. I do love all those vegetables hanging from the wall, and it was fun to color wooden texture and some china tableware here. Here I tried to improve flowers in the basket, because originally they looked quite childish. Everything else looked quite good, and these flowers, they weren't very attractive, so I tried to turn them probably into lavender. The whole page has this Provence look because of the color of the table. Probably again I tried to do this faded look of the furniture, and I hope that I managed to do it. Now it's definitely all for the first book. In the second one, which I got just this year where I realized that I actually can color. I have one work in progress which I started just a day ago. Then I have this house in the wood. It was my first work in this book. Maybe I concentrated too much on the inner part of this beautiful house, and it was a lot of fun to color a bark of the tree. I deliberately tried to add a little bit of green to show that bark probably is covered by the moss. Then I worked on the texture here on the upper part to show that light is coming through the glass stained windows. And the thing which I don't like how I did outside area, the sky, the tree, they are not very good, not very attractive, but at least inner part I do like it. Next we have my huge Halloween project which I finished in October. It was long, but I enjoyed each and every moment of it, because when I looked at this page carefully, properly, I realized that it has everything in Harry Potter style. So it was like Diagon Alley, very similar. We have cauldrons, we have brooms, we have wizardware, we have wizard books and potions, we have owls. So if you like Harry Potter but don't like to color books dedicated to the films, maybe you can color something in Harry Potter style, and that's what I did. Again, Prismacolor pencils and Posca pens for some of the details, and all the pictures I colored them for my Patreon. So on Patreon or on membership part on my channel, there are narrated color along videos. My next one is again this huge spread, and probably that's my favorite finished picture in the whole two book series of my romantic country. Again, I do love to color all the cute houses, village scenes, country scenes, and this adorable market. I started it on near my birthday. I was attracted to this beautiful birthday cake, and then moving from the left to the right sides, I think that I did pretty good work. I deliberately did 3 bright elements, those umbrellas or canopies, to attract attention to the 3 main shops. But the most interesting thing was to look at each of the areas to find many nice and adorable details. Here we have cups on sale, this teddy bear, many interesting fruits here, this very nice bear bookseller who is reading his own books. So many nice things to color. I added something from myself, these stones on the pavement to fill in this empty area. So I'm quite proud of this spread. Next, I will show you K.Rosanes books in my collection. Even if for me he is one of the best artists, I have only 3 of his books, and for a long time I had only Imagimorphia. I was holding, not purchasing other books, and here I have many of my early works. Let's, as usual, start from the end of the book. Let me adjust my camera because book is huge. Here it was challenging to do this white horse, and I think that it was a good decision trying to add some shading on her skin using unusual colors. I used a little bit of pastel yellow watercolor, pastel blue, pastel violet. For the background I used acrylic, and now unfortunately it looks dirty because white gel pen, which I added here in huge amount for these white dots, it was imprinted on the black background. But of course it's possible to cover it with another layer, but I didn't bother. I don't even remember what I used for the flowers, probably Prismacolor pencils, looking at the delicate pink color of some of the flowers. So I think that I must be quite proud that I had enough of patience to color everything here. Huge work. I think that the main reason why I first stopped to purchase K.Rosanes books because I am not a huge fan of doodles and all those hidden objects. So I waited until he moved into more less detailed pictures. And pictures which have one theme and not strange gathered objects. This was one of my very old pictures. I did it probably when I hadn't have Prismacolors yet. I think that I used a little bit of Inktense here, then I used my Colin pencils. There were my first attempts to do pastel background, not very successful on this paper. Anyway, sometimes it's nice to look at the very old works. And many of the pictures of this book I do love them, and now when they are not very popular, when you don't see them each day on Instagram profiles, so maybe it would be much easier to color them. Oh, that was a very strange story about this tale, because again it was very old work and I did it mostly with Inktense and then with my budget pencils for the background, and it was one of the first videos on my channel and somehow it was extremely popular. I still don't know why this tale got so many views. I think that any of my videos, and especially all my recent videos during the whole year, it's nothing comparing to those old pictures and those videos 4 years ago. So it was huge amount of views for this strange tale, surprisingly. I do love this one because from the very beginning I was very attracted to this ancient Asian palace. Probably it really reminded me about architecture in Sri Lanka or Cambodia, places which I really want to visit. I was once in Sri Lanka and I want to visit Cambodia when everything is well. I hope so. And here I used Derwent drawing pencils. They are very good not only for animals, for fur, but also for architecture because of their colors. And on the camel I experimented with fur. I already mentioned it a couple of days ago when I did video about my attempts how to color, how to improve my fur, that it was first of my attempts when I first did watercolor underpaint and then on top of it tried to add texture with pencils. And I also added these two pyramids. I first wasn't sure how it would look, so here we have something from Asia and here we have Egyptian detail, but then I decided that for the K.Rosanes book the more is the better, so it's possible to mess up architectural elements from various parts of the planet. Another one which I still like, you can see that here we have a very simple bouquet background which I made with soft pastel, and then the bird and also jewelry I did with Prismacolors. It was a stage where I practiced how to color gold, so I tried to find as many pictures with golden details in my book collection. And at that time my collection was relatively small, so I tried to color golden elements elsewhere. Oh, it was a part of experiment, and the whole spread I made with Derwent drawing pencils. That's why it has such unusual, for me, muted colors. And in the beginning it was relatively difficult to color many elements in unusual colors, so we have a huge mass of things here and the set of 24 pencils. It was challenging, but I think that I managed. So I have a very warm feelings and very warm memory towards this page. Here I had patience only for one page, but that's where I discovered that it's possible to color here with Inktense and with watercolor. Also, not the the experience which I was able to repeat in my other K.Rosanes books, so you have to be careful with the publisher of the book. And after I did the right side, it was fun, and I even used some of the different colors of pencils together with Inktense, but I realized that to color the second part, again this mess of strange waves, fishes, but also messed up with objects like cubes, some keys and other objects which are not very related to the ocean. I decided that, sorry, but I don't have such patience. But at least I do love my penguins. Another unfinished project here, I practiced with the storm, with the sky, and I wanted to do this ghost of the ship, so it was my page for practice. And my panda spread, another one which I truly love. I remember that beginning was challenging. Somehow I decided to start with different color softs and they were terrible on this paper. They glided over the surface, they didn't want to layer properly. Then I switched to Prismacolors and it was much easier. And then I experimented with gouache background, so this gouache background here far from perfect because you can see brush strokes, but here where I added a little bit of mountains behind the body of panda, I think that it's not too bad for the first attempt. Yeah, and now I have two more books. Of course, I think that I will purchase the new book which will be published next year, but with the rate, with the speed how I color K.Rosanes books, it's totally waste of books, because in Fragile World I have only one finished page, even if I love each and every picture here. And you know what, if I would have just one book, this one, I would be perfectly happy to color it from the first to the last page. But unfortunately somehow I never have enough time to actually color it now when I have such a huge collection. So as my first project I selected these beautiful birds. I believe that they are from South America and they are somewhere from Argentina. They indeed are quite interesting and lovely, with the red eyes and with the bright orange-brown hair, full feathers. Only on their head, and the rest of the body is grey and white, so quite nice. I was extremely happy to discover that in the book published by Lom Art, it's possible to use a watercolor, so I did a very quick watercolor background for the sky. I would never have enough patience to do the sky with pencils. And then the rest I did with polychromos. I do love to use polychromos in K.Rosanes books. Well, I have to do something because I want to color this book, so maybe I need somehow to put it into my plans. And here we have walls within words, which I also love. Almost all pictures here. At least here I have several finished projects. Now let me show you quickly what I managed to do. My first project was this lantern, and I still think that it's one of my best finished pictures. From the beginning I decided to play on the contrast between warm and cold colors, so I have quite an icy scene inside of the lantern. And it was quite fun to color all those rays which reminded me about northern lights, and deliberately used all those warm colors for everything around, which reminded me about desert, maybe something from Arabian countries, many interesting elements around, so I really enjoyed it. But that's where I remembered again how long it took to finish even one page by K.Rosanes because of the very detailed pictures. The next one I have here, this antelope probably, and here I decided to do the outer part of the picture, this botanical elements with limited color combos, so I tried to find all flowers first and color them in yellow and pink, and then with blue and violet I finished all the leaves. Well, I can say that I worked a lot on the fur because everything was made by Kirby, all texture, so I concentrated on this village between the antlers, and I tried to show that part is beneath the sun and part is beneath the moon. At least in such way I tried to do something original here. Next I have this huge spread. I have a soft spot for spreads when I select pictures, but then when I start to color them, I always think how you select that page which requires such a long time to finish. But here the lower part I did very quickly, and I think that I love all colors here. Here I used mix of polychromasis and Prismacolors, all those soft pastel colors of course from Prismacolor, all those clay rose, great lavender, and bright colors, pencils for details, it's polychromasis. I'm not sure yet, maybe the color of the walls here is too intense, but still I enjoyed using how I did it, and I tried some of the polychromos combos which I hadn't used before, so I think that it was a successful spread, at least I love it. And well, now I have another point of shame because I enjoyed when I started this spread, and I do love how I started it, all those bigger and smaller creatures and fishes, but then on the last step I tried to use watercolor and I was sure that everything will be good. I have this book, it's Plume, from another publisher which I purchased on Amazon France somehow, where it was available, and it was terrible. I totally hated how watercolor behaved here. It absorbed pigment quickly, so you can see brush strokes. I wasn't able to spread watercolor pigment. I was very disappointed. I know that it's possible to work and to save this background. I simply need to go over this disappointing moment, and when I'm more calm and when I forget about this not very successful experience, I still just have to sit with my pencil and to mask all those areas, to cover them with pencil, and then to finish remaining elements. So I promise that this spread, it will be finished one day. And finally, let's have a look at the book, which unfortunately I hadn't touched this year at all. And it's my one and only book by D.Song, The Night Voyage. And it was one of my first purchases on Book Depository long ago, more than 4 years. But when I received it, I realized that I have no idea how to color in it actually, because some of the pictures it was possible to color, so I started it here. Again, it's one of my old works, and here I can clearly see so many problems which I always have on my colorings. Not enough contrast and everything looks relatively flat, so that's the thing which I always find on my old works and which I try to remember now to work on this problem. And at least this one it was possible to color because background it wasn't empty, so I can concentrate on color selection. But the next pictures, this one it was possible to color, and again I'm grateful to this page because it's again was one of my first successful attempts how to color gold. I would say that here wheels they really look like gold, they shine like gold, so this one is not bad. But then started pages with big empty backgrounds. At that moment I realized that I can't use watercolor here, it bleeded through and book is double-sided, and I definitely don't want to do such backgrounds with pencils. So I waited until I got my set of Neocolor crayons, and there it was the moment when I was able to move forward and to do at least a couple of spreads here. So this bright background made with Neocolor crayons and the rest with Prismacolors. I wanted to do this fantasy color bright backgrounds in this book, in style of this book, but I wasn't ready to use pencils. Here again Neocolor crayons and then a little bit of paint to finish the sky and Prismacolor pencils. You can see that if you don't have medium to cover the background, it's practically impossible to color in this book because backgrounds are huge and somehow you need to cover it in order to create interesting pictures. I wanted them to look like illustrations from real children's book, and it wasn't easy. Well, I tried to color it in order, but then I realized that maybe I won't be able to do it. Here I have another finished picture and another picture which I wasn't very successful. Something went wrong. I think that I tried to use watercolors here on top of the gesso, but somehow I didn't. I decided that I'm not ready to proceed. But at least this one it's interesting. It's one of the most interesting backgrounds I've ever created. Again with Neocolors, I added all those strange spheres. It's not like bokeh background because I tried to color these circles which I added myself. More like maybe planets or foam bulbs floating in the air. So it's strange, a little bit creepy, but I would say that it's creative. And in contrast to all those warm colors of the background, I did this steel tubes. It was quite long work, not very funny because I used mostly polychrome Prismacolor cool gray colors, variety of them from 30% to 70%, but in the end they look good. And then some of the colorful elements, the girl and all those presents. Well, I hope that it wasn't very boring. I am very pleased to start filming all my book collection, but I can't imagine how long it would take to film everything I have now, all finished pictures and book which I own. So please support me with your comments if it was interesting, or maybe tell me that I have to be slightly quicker in explaining and talking about all my books. But sometimes like with this book, I hadn't seen it in years, so it's like meeting old friend after a very long time. I miss it, and when I look at it together with you, I feel that maybe it's time to return to it. So for me, it's also a very pleasant thing to film such videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon in the next series.